Hi everyone, this is Auntie Sweets. We're here in the kitchen. We are going to make an herb butter today. We are specifically going to make dill. You're going to need the following equipment: a good sharp knife, a spatula, rubber spatulas, paper towels, silicone ice cube trays. I got these from Home Goods. They have a great lid to keep out odor and protect them. Plastic wrap, rubber spatula for scraping, a piping bag, and I'm going to show you an alternate method for those who don't have the silicone, using a cookie sheet lined with wax paper. Any brand is good. I personally like Cut-Rite, and I like to use the Kirkland stretch type plastic wrap. It is awesome. Today the herb butter that we're going to make is dill butter. It's great for salmon and fish. If your dill gets a little limp, you can crisp it in cold water for an hour or so. And we're gonna need 3 cups of butter. This is unsalted butter, a cutting board, a mixing bowl, a colander, and the following seasonings: seasoned pepper, your favorite lemon pepper brand, and a salt. I would recommend either sea salt, or I personally like this pink Himalayan salt, again, from Kirkland, Costco, my favorite place. So let's start. We've already washed and crisped the dill, so we're gonna let this drain a little bit and just give it a good shake. Okay, and then we're gonna pat that dry on some paper towels. So you just wanna line up your paper towels and take a good amount of the dill and just kind of spread it out on the paper towel. You don't want to bruise your herbs, so you want to make sure that your knife is good and sharp, because the goal is to cut. So you want to hear a crisp cutting noise and not a sad smashing noise. So we're going to pat the dill dry. Okay? Because you don't want excess water in it. So we're going to go ahead and use some extra paper towels. Okay? And just get all that water off it. And this is just on the cutting board. And I'm just going to roll it up in the paper towel. And while this dill is drying, I'm going to go ahead and put the butter into the mixing bowl. So you just, one at a time, take the butter, take it out. You can use your spatula so you don't waste any of this butter. And it's softened to room temperature. It's simply done by just taking your butter out of the refrigerator and letting it sit on a clean counter space until it becomes soft and pliable, but not melted. Okay? And we're just going to keep doing this until all 6 sticks or 3 cups of butter are in the bowl. Now with measurements, I usually do a lot of things by eye. So you want to determine how you like things to taste. So if you like more salt content, then put more salt. If you like more pepper for spicier herb butter, then put more pepper. And you just do it until you feel that it's where you want it to be. Okay, so this is a little messy, but we're gonna just wipe our hands at the end once we get this. And it's always important to have good hygiene, short nails, wash hands often, keep a clean work area. I like to clean with bleach. It's not toxic if small amounts are ingested. It's what they use for Ebola. So personally, I like to clean up afterwards and beforehand with a nice good bleach spray. So once we get this last stick of butter in, we are going to add the spices and then get the slicing the dill. That's now done. Sorry, the camera's a little wobbly. I'm still getting used to this technology. So like I said, this is unsalted butter, so I'm going to twist in a good amount of salt into this. That way I won't have to salt my fish. I'd say about a teaspoon is what you're aiming for. So that's the butter, and the salt is in. And it's a larger crystal of salt, but it will kind of soften up and dissolve. And the pepper, I'm going to put about a teaspoon of that as well. And the same with the lemon pepper. We're going to go for a teaspoon of that. Okay, and now we're going to take our rubber spatula and just give it a stir. Mix it in nice and good. Soften up the butter. See how nice the softened butter is to work with? Whereas if the butter was not soft, then it'll be very difficult to mix it together. And once you've combined it, scrape down the sides, and you see that your spices are completely incorporated into your butter, we will mince the dill. Now the trick is to get dill and not dill stems in there. So that's going to be our goal. Okay, so we're going to put our spatula in our colander, unroll the dill, and there's a couple different ways to do this. I just got a little extra butterfingers. Okay, so one way to do it is to strip the stems. You break them up and you simply pull down to get the leaves that you want. Small bits of stem are okay, but these large pieces like this, you don't want. No one wants to bite into bark. You want to bite into nice, delicious dill. So we're just going to go through quickly and do this. And you can do it with other herbs as well. This works nice for if you have a home garden and you have a lot of basil. You can make a basil butter. You can add other things depending on what you're going to use the butter to spice. For example, if you were going to use it with chicken, you might want to add some paprika or some cumin. But since we're just using this for fish, then just the seasoned pepper, the salt, and the lemon pepper should be sufficient to get the taste that you want on your fish. Okay. So we're just getting these stems off. And this is about a bushel of dill. So it just depends on how strong you want your dill to be, like what your ratio of dill to butter is. And like I said, you want small stems are okay because we're going to mince it, but these large pieces must go. So, and you just got to use a little finger strength, and like I said, if you grip the stem, you can just slide it through, and when you slide it through your fingers, you'll be left with the leaves on the cutting board and not large, egregious pieces of stem that will be not tasty. Sometimes they can be bitter. They're not fun to bite into. And that's not where you want the flavor to be coming from. You want it coming from these beautiful little leaves of dill. So we're almost done. We just got a couple more, so just bear with me. So I hope you guys all had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday and practiced social distancing and did it safe. Better to be socially distanced on Thanksgiving than to spend the next holiday in the ICU. That's what the guidance is right now. So, and meal prepping is great. I'll be showing you some other videos on how to make some things to meal prep, because takeout is expensive unnecessarily, and a lot of people are at home and have extra time, so cooking a meal would be lovely if you have the time to do so. And one of the ways you can make time is by prepping things ahead, like having things already chopped in the fridge to go, and having your spice mixes and blends and butters and flavors already made ahead. It'll save you a lot of time if you just need to jump off that Zoom call from the office and get going making dinner for yourself or your family or your kids or whoever is indoors with you and needs to eat. So we just got a few more left, and you don't have to use a knife the size of the one I'm using. I just am partial to this knife. I got most of my knives from Cutco, and a few from other places here and there. So we just got a couple stems left, as you can see. And you just want to kind of sort through your pile and make sure that you don't have any other stems hiding in there, because like I said, we don't want to eat the stems. We want these nice fronds. Kind of looks like a pine tree a little bit. Okay. So I believe we've gotten the majority of our stems out. And like I said, I'm just going to take a little look through and kind of use my fingers to feel if there's any pieces that are too large. Okay, I don't feel any. So we're going to take this knife I mentioned and scrape our herbs into a pile. And sound is essential with cooking. So like I said, you want to hear a nice clean chopping noise and not a smashing noise when you are chopping. And I apologize for the wobbliness of the camera, but I am actually wearing it. As I am chopping, it is moving. So I'm just going to see if I can stabilize it a little bit better. See, we got a hidden stem. Get rid of that guy. And just kind of roll your herbs, and just be careful with your fingers as you chop across. And you want them to get pretty small. Some people would do this in a food processor. I personally don't like using food processors to cut herbs because I feel like sometimes they do more bruising than cutting. And you want the most flavor to escape, and that's going to be done by keeping your herbs and your leaves as intact as much as possible. So that's why you want nice, clean, sharp cuts and not just smashing. So you let the knife do the work, and you get a nice cut, and you want to decide how fine you want them to be. Sometimes a little rustic kind of situation where some pieces are bigger than others. It's going to be beautiful on your finished product when you cook it, but no one wants to bite into a giant stem of dill. So you just want to take a look at it and see if it's too big you want it to be. And this is called a mince, what I'm doing. We're mincing them, so it's smaller than a chop. And I'm just using the knife to scrape it back into the pile. And then I'm holding the knife at this angle and letting the knife do the work. And I think that's a nice, good amount. So we're going to go ahead and put this into the bowl with the butter. And give it a good mix. So you just want to evenly mix all of it in, scrape down the sides, and make sure that all your spices and your salt are in it. You can give it a little taste if you want. I'm just going to add a little more salt and a little more lemon pepper, because I'm looking at the mix and it just doesn't feel like there's quite enough in there dispersed. So that's probably now 2 teaspoons of lemon pepper as opposed to the one we started with. And I'll be putting the recipes in the links and stuff down below. So make sure you subscribe because we'll be doing simple things like boiling eggs to get the perfect boiled egg, as well as more challenging things like cooking full meals. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the cutting board out of the way, and we are going to fill this silicone mold. This is nice because once it freezes, you can simply pop it out. So that's why I suggested that you use the pastry bag. Okay. So if you take the pastry bag and turn it out over your hand like such, then you can simply scoop an easily controllable amount into the pastry bag with your rubber spatula, the same one you were using for stirring. If you haven't really used pastry bags a lot and you're not familiar with them, I would suggest to avoid overfilling your pastry bags. If you can manage a larger bag, then go for it. I'm gonna put all 3 cups of butter in it, and that's what this nice device does, is it allows you to really not waste anything and get everything out of the bowl. It also works great for when you're doing bread doughs with scrimping. So I'm just going to run this around the periphery of the bowl and put the last bits into the pastry bag. Ideally, I would use scissors to cut this, but they are hiding from me this evening. So I'm just going to use our knife that we used and gently cut the tip off the pastry bag. So you want to make sure you throw that away. And then twist the top of your pastry bag and hold the tip. And then you're just going to pipe it into each one as if you were making cupcakes. Okay, you can kind of set it down a little bit to get any air bubbles knocked out. And you don't want to overfill them because once we put the lid on, the lid is going to depress into this a little bit. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and pipe all these little things. Okay, and I'm going to show you an alternative solution for those who don't have an ice cube tray or a silicone holder. So once the lid is securely put on, this is going to go into the freezer, and you should label it with the date and what it is. Masking tape works great for this, so that you know when you put things in the freezer, so you know how long they last. So here's the alternative method. You still use the pastry bag. You have your cookie sheet with a nice piece of wax paper on it. And then you're basically going to just pipe a square. And this, once it's frozen, you can just slice it into cubes and then store it in a Ziploc bag for future use. And we're going to smooth it with our spatula once we get it all out of the bag. If you were going to do the cookie sheet method, you don't necessarily need the bag. You can simply just put it directly onto the cookie sheet. So now we're going to smooth this down with our spatula and get a nice little even kind of square if we can, kind of like you're frosting a cake. Okay? And just kind of butt it up, turn it into a nice shape. Okay? And then we're going to take another piece of wax paper once we get all this extra product on there. We're going to take another sheet of wax paper, stretch it over the top to keep it from slipping. It can be smaller than the pan size. And just give it a gentle press, steam it up. Okay, and then we're going to take our plastic wrap here and cover the cookie sheet in totality with our plastic wrap, being careful with the metal edge and getting a nice good seal sausage wrap. And like I said, once this hardens in the freezer, you can simply cut it. And there you have it. Dill butter for salmon or other fish or whatever you like to use your dill on. Thank you.